we are actually going to be changing scales from the old scale stuff that we've been working on for quite a while, for quite a few episodes now, over to the HO scale stuff, which HO stands for half O, hence why it's only half as large as the O scale. Now this is not actually this locomotive, it's just the best reference I had, but that does mean that we can see that it is half as big, whether that be height or width, or I guess even length. So yeah, we are going to be working on this little steam locomotive, which can both be a single and it can have a tender. We're going to be working on this Burlington Northern diesel locomotive, and then we are also going to be working on my prized locomotive, my Green General. I think it's by Tyco. Let me see. I remember seeing it somewhere. I believe it is a Tyco model. Yes, a Mantua Tyco. So yes, I'm hoping to at least get 2 of these 3 locomotives that we have here running. Or at least 1. So, I actually don't have HO train tracks set up to run right now, just because I've been fiddling around with my O-scale stuff. So, let's go down to the ground and set up an HO scale layout. So now down here on the floor, you can see that I've arranged a couple different train tracks, pulling them out of my big bin of train tracks. There's all of my different train tracks. I've made sure to go with all of these silverish rails, just because I've heard they conduct more electricity. Then we also have my best transformer and some wires. So I'm going to set it up right here where I'm sitting. There's the desk for contact. There's the proof of the desk. So yeah, I'll just set up the layout and then bring you guys back in. Well, the track is all set up, and I've even got it wired up here with the transformer. Bonk. You can even see that I've pegged in the tracks here on my foam carpet floor type thing, so that the tracks can't wiggle. Watch. Almost no movement at all, meaning whenever I run trains over it, they won't be sliding back and forth, which is like really beneficial. So now we can test our 3 locomotives and then hopefully get to work on them. So now with my Green General locomotive on the tracks, we can test it. I've put my controller at full power, and it's trying to go. Not very successful. I just turned off the power so I could slide it. But anyways, seems like we're going to have to do a lot more work to this. Because I have actually done a little bit of work to it, as in adding a new cross beam between the motor in here and the worm gear in here. But it seems to not have done very well. So now, we'll move on to this steam locomotive. So, let's try this. That doesn't sound good. Almost sounds like a cracked gear. Yeah. I'm hoping it's not a cracked gear, because I can't replace those right now. But we'll wait and see. Then finally, the BNSF locomotive. So it is going to sound like that just because 2 of the wheels don't have tracks and tires. But here it goes. I wonder if it's even on. I don't know. I'm going to check and see if it's on the actual tracks, and then bring you guys back in. So after some trying, I found out that this engine was, in fact, on the tracks. It just wasn't picking up power, apparently. Because in past tests, probably go check, like, my second Model Trains video. No, my first Model Trains video to see that. I'm pretty sure it at least had a light. So we're going to figure out what's wrong with this, hopefully make it run, and then maybe figure out what's wrong with one of these. This one I know is just a really old motor and the drive bar is bad, but this one, I believe, is a cam motor. So I don't know what's wrong with it, and we'll have to open it up to see. So I'm going to select one of the engines to work on, probably the diesel, and open it up so that we can get working on it. So now, with the locomotive motor part, as you can see, this is the shell, and then this is the main part of the frame. Putting this back together, and it also has weights. But I have the motor part here, so let's look at this. Look at that. It's kind of shiny, but like still dirty. And all of the gears are really dirty. And I also found out that while opening it, it's actually missing one of the springs, which explains why the power isn't getting to the motor ever. Because I don't have another spring to replace this one that's here on my screwdriver. So it probably won't be a working locomotive for a while, at least until I find another spring to go into it. But it doesn't hurt to clean it up and try to make all of the smaller parts work. So I'm going to use my fiberglass pencil to clean up most of the parts, and then I'll show them to you. So as you can probably hear, this motor over here, which is my test motor, is humming, meaning that it's plugged it in. I've been trying and trying to get the wires to pass an electrical current through the commutator of this locomotive. But for whatever reason, they won't. And I know they work because I can show you on the light right here of the light working and them working. Like, let me show you. See? The light lights up. Let me turn it on almost full power. See? There's a bright light. The wires work. I know it's not the wires. And the light transmits the power perfectly. So, I believe it is this commutator. And I know it's not the coils because the coils aren't burned. So I don't know what to do. And like, I don't have any replacements for that. Not to mention, as I showed you in the last clip, we're also missing the spring for one of the brushes. So that's not good. So I'm going to put it all back together, put it away, and then we can open one of the other two locomotives. Because I'm only going to be able to do 2 locomotives in this video, I've decided. I might do whatever one I don't do for this episode as like a short or something. I don't know. But I'm going to work on getting this locomotive together. So now, as you can see, I've decided to do my Green General locomotive, as that one is my favorite of my HR locomotives, and my favorite of all of them, of my model locomotives, if I must say. And I've already gotten the 1-gear contraption with wheels out from the locomotive, and then I've got the motor from the tender out. So, this would generally be mounted sideways like this, and then be connected through the locomotive and tender, if I can find where it goes, like this. You can see I accidentally broke the plastic here, and I had to replace it with a thin plastic tube. But this motor does not look too bad at all. But I am going to clean it and hopefully get it looking even better so that we can try and make it run its best. So, I'm going to take it apart by taking off these springs here, removing the brushes. Then I'll be able to clean the commutator, which is this spinning thing in here. These are the coils, by the way. And hopefully make it a lot cleaner, and in some places look better too. So, once I've cleaned the motor, we can test it using my controller. So, with the motor on, I do want to warn you that you might be hearing some thunders-ish, maybe, just because right now the town I live in is under a severe thunderstorm warning, and we are also under a tornado watch. So, if there's sirens, for instance, those are just police. But if you hear like big sirens or the lights go out or any of those while on camera, and I'll leave it in editing, then you'll know that something is happening. And I'll definitely inform you once it's done or still going on while recording. But now let's test the motor, which I have thoroughly cleaned, and we'll see how it does. Power it. It runs very well. If I can get my wires there. Yeah, for instance, one there. Yeah. It runs very well. So that means we have a working motor. Now, we just have to get this drivetrain hopefully working again completely. And then we can hopefully get everything to where it once again rides the rails fully, not the mini version that you saw. So I'm going to figure out how to take apart the little things on this, and then I'll show you everything. So I've disassembled it, the worm gear part. I found out that these two right here are actually ball bearings, which hold the worm gear in and allow it to spin like this. But I also did my best to straighten out this connecting rod here, tested it a little bit with this, and now I think we can put it at least somewhat back together, enough to where we can hopefully test it down on the train tracks and see if it will do anything productive down there. So I'm going to put enough of it back together and then place it on the tracks and see how it does. With the locomotive and part of its shell set up down here on the tracks, we'll see how it runs. Oh no, that doesn't sound good. So the motor seems to be working fine, but the drive linkage between the locomotive and the motor and the tender does not seem to be fine. Back to the table we go. Okay, so I've done a couple things to see if it will work, including putting on the front drivers, tightening everything up, not front drivers, but front trailing, leading wheels. Gosh, I can't speak right now. But I've left the shell of the tender off just so that we could see what's happening. So, there we go. There goes the locomotive. It's still vibrating, and I know why. It's because this part in there is not straight. And I don't have a replacement for that either. It does work relatively well. Like, it moves a lot smoother than it used to. See? But I still don't like how it runs. So for now, I'm just going to put it back together. So, I've got everything back together, and I even grabbed out the 2 passenger cars, both of which come off the truck because they don't have screws, but, oh well, this one does too. Oh, and it does that, apparently. But, anyways, that should be fine. Eventually, we might get around to fixing, I'm sorry, it just doesn't seem to like. Give me a minute, and I'll be right back up. But anyways, with those, that means that we are done for today, at least. So, as the outro music starts to play, I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!